building blocks. I was like swaying my hair left and right, giving this smoldering, like, I know my ABCs too, look. I was gonna be a model. Unfortunately, at the age of 6.5, an unfortunate incident during La'ita left me with this huge bruise on my left eye. And my modeling career was ruined. A great disappointment to my parents, but thankfully I moved on to pink tutus and a pink bodysuit. And I was practicing ballet hours and hours in the day. I skipped going to Jneinat Sanaya to go biking just so I could do some more pirouettes in my own room. And I was going to be a ballerina. Except I failed to mention that the director of my ballet studio was the equivalent of Cruella de Vil. She had curly, frizzy hair that went till about here. And every time I walked, she would scold me for not having my feet in pointe position or whatever. I couldn't take it. The pressure got to me. I was like, this is not what I'm going to do with my life. And so I moved on to other things, like volleyball, like event planning, like president of the student council, which, by the way, I thought was a real job. Like, I thought I would graduate and be president of student council forever. So no. So fast forward a little bit to my college years, and my favorite standing posture was on my head. I was doing yoga 4 times a week. If you reached into my closet and closed your eyes, you would probably grab a shidwell with elephants on it. It was bound to happen. My room was full of incense. I was teaching yoga classes I was definitely not certified to be teaching, but I was teaching them anyway. I was going to be a yoga instructor. It wasn't too long after that that I realized I probably have to give up water and food to maintain an income as a yoga instructor. No offense to anyone out there, but it wasn't a great option. So I moved on to the thing that I was actually supposed to be doing, which was going to med school. So I went to medical school, and unlike all of the other things I had done since I was 6, chosen to drop everything and focus on that thing, med school had drowned me in work. I was drowned in my books. I spent all of my days in the library. I would have dinners outside of Saab Medical Library, or what we know as SML, as medical students. I had breakfast. I didn't have breakfast. I was going to be a doctor. So for any of you who don't know what med school is like or have never interacted with a medical student, there is a point in your medical years where you just lose it. And I may sort of already be in that phase, but if you don't know what that phase is like, I'll give you a little taste. So you'll be out with your friends and you're having a conversation and somebody asks you, so, like, what have you been up to? How's it going? And you're like, I'm at the hospital. Sometimes I eat. And yeah, that's about it. And then you know you really hit rock bottom when you're at home and your mom walks in and you're eating a bowl of cereal and you're watching a dissection of a cadaver and it's 8 in the morning. That's when you know you've lost it. So having said that, I started to bake. And I started to make cakes and brownies and pies, and they were banana and chocolate and lemon. And despite the begging from my friends to please stop, because of several actual vomiting incidents, I was going to be a baker. Now, obviously, that didn't pan through because I'm still in medical school and nobody's heard of my baking catering system thing. So that didn't pan through. But what I realized is that as a kid, when somebody always asked you, what do I want to be when I grow up? What am I going to do? Who am I? Who am I going to be when I grow up? You always kind of boxed it into these little categories, or you labeled, I'm going to be this thing, and you worked really, really hard to be that thing, whether it was a ballerina or a yoga instructor or whatever. And as I grew up, it kind of made me sad that that was the reality of things. But I guess I came to accept it. Cut to about 2 weeks ago, and I'm in a yoga class, and I'm sitting in my mat, on my mat, not in my mat. That's not a metaphor. Okay, so I'm sitting on my mat, and I'm sitting up tall, and I'm listening to the yoga instructor. And my yoga instructor usually gives like a little intro. What is the theme of the week or the theme of the day? And the theme was the spine. And so I'm listening to her, and I'm like, great, okay, it's the spine, and I'm super focused. And out of nowhere, she pulls out this skeleton of the spine with a pelvis, and she's like explaining how they fit together and the beautiful spine and how it fits into the pelvis. And I'm watching her and I'm thinking, that is not how the vertebral body fits into the pelvis. It's so wrong. I'm like, you know what, just shut up, enjoy the moment, do what they do in yoga, which is you stay in the present moment and you stay here. And I took a deep breath, and then I couldn't do it. And so I looked at her and I was like, excuse me, I just want to say something. Those vertebral bodies, you see how they pop out at the end? Yeah, those are supposed to be facing backwards, and they're actually supposed to be, and I went on this rant of like 5-10 minutes explaining how the vertebral column has special bones, whatever. And it was in that moment that I realized that all of these things that I had, all of this impression I had of identity as a child, which was it being one thing you work really hard to do, one thing you work really, really hard to achieve, and you become that thing, that label, like you're this thing. That wasn't so true. That in that moment, I was trying to be in my element as a yoga practicer, and I couldn't do it. This med student inside of me just was like heating up inside, and I couldn't do it. And so what I realized is that who you are is actually an interplay of all of these experiences, these moments, these little things that had an impact on you that make who you are today, that make this person. And like, let's be real. And don't look at me. I'm still that 6-year-old model, right?